The golden glow of Le Jardin de Lumière, an elite French restaurant nestled in the historic district of Riverton City, bathed the evening in soft opulence. Crystal chandeliers sparkled like stars fallen indoors, their light shimmering over cream linens and glistening silverware. A pianist near the fireplace played a delicate Chopin nocturne, his fingers coaxing emotion from the keys, as murmurs of conversation mingled with the soft clinks of crystal and china. It was a Saturday night at exactly 8 p.m. The dining room was alive with the quiet confidence of wealth lawyers, real estate magnates, board members of prestigious museums, and patrons of global foundations. They wore tailored suits and designer gowns, sipped Burgundy from the 1970s, and dined on filet mignon and coq au vin like kings, indifferent to the noise of the world beyond the velvet curtain windows. Then, like a champagne glass dropped in silence, the moment shattered. Two distinct sounds cut through the air. The first was the solid, ungraceful clomp of boots. The second, unmistakable, the metallic click of steel cuffs. Heads turned as if synchronized. Near the arched windows overlooking the glowing city streets, a young black woman stood, stunned. Her wrists were jerked behind her back, metal encircling her with brutal indifference. She wore an emerald green silk gown, its hue rich and fluid under the chandelier light. Her name was Elena Monroe. Elena, only 23, looked every inch like a fashion icon, her natural curls pinned into an elegant chignon, her makeup radiant yet subtle. Moments ago, she had been seated at her table near the window, waiting calmly for her best friend. Now, she stood frozen, a picture of dignity interrupted, surrounded by law enforcement in a room full of power. The two officers flanking her made no attempt to soften the scene. Officer Gary Drummond, stocky and graying, wore an expression of smug self-certainty. His gut pushed against the limits of his uniform, and his lips curled with disdain. His younger partner, Officer Tyler Winslow, stood just behind, arms crossed tightly across his chest, a gleam of contempt in his eyes. Silence thickened the air like a fog. At Elena's table, a glass of Perrier had tipped over in the scuffle, the water bleeding across the white linen like ink spilled on a page never meant to be touched. Murmurs erupted, cautious at first, then sharper. "What the hell's going on?" a man in a tuxedo whispered. A woman pulled out her phone. Another raised an eyebrow in disbelief, and all eyes turned to Elena as she found her voice. "What are you doing?" she asked, her tone controlled but trembling. "This is a mistake. I've done nothing wrong. Let me go." Officer Drummond scoffed, his voice louder than necessary. "Disturbing the peace," he snapped. "Resisting an officer." "I was sitting at a table, waiting for my friend," she replied evenly. "You raised your voice," Winslow interjected, stepping closer. "You refused to show ID. You made a scene. That's enough." From the maitre d' podium, Francois Leclerc approached swiftly, alarm flooding his face. "Officers, please. There must be a mistake. She's our guest. There's been no disturbance." "Step aside," barked Drummond, shoving Leclerc so abruptly the older man stumbled backward, nearly crashing into a passing server. Gasps rippled like thunder through the dining room. Drummond turned back to Elena, gripping her arm with unnecessary force. "You think dressing like some damn debutante makes you untouchable?" he growled. "Think again." The atmosphere changed. It was no longer awkward tension, it was fury. Elena looked around the room, trying to anchor herself in a sea of disbelief. "I haven't done anything. You're harassing me." Winslow snorted. "That's a serious accusation. Let's see if your ID matches that attitude." But this was never about procedure. It wasn't about complaints, or a call, or a real threat. 10 minutes earlier, the officers had been driving past Le Jardin after clearing a minor parking complaint nearby. From the squad car, Drummond had seen Elena seated by the window, serene, composed, and radiant. It offended him. The way she held herself. The way she sat in a place he deemed above her. "Look at that," he muttered to Winslow. "Some overpriced escort waiting on a sugar daddy." Winslow laughed. "Probably thinks she owns the place." "Let's remind her she doesn't," Drummond had said as he swung the cruiser into a red zone and stepped out. Inside the restaurant, Drummond stormed toward Elena's table, barking, "ID." Now. She had looked up, calm. "Excuse me," she said politely. "Am I being accused of something?" "Just routine," Winslow had said with false calm. "Unless you've got something to hide." Elena placed her linen napkin carefully on the table. "Officers, unless you have probable cause, I'm under no obligation to show you identification. I'm here waiting for a friend." "That's not a crime." Drummond slammed a meaty hand against her table. "Maybe you're here illegally. Maybe you're soliciting. Either way, we'll find out." Winslow added with a sneer, "Nice dress. Late-night work pay for that." Elena rose slowly, fury in her spine. "You're out of line. This is harassment." Drummond bumped the table, knocking over her water. "That's assault," he spat. "You just made this worse." Then it happened. Winslow lunged. In seconds, Elena's arms were twisted behind her, and cold metal bit into her skin. The pianist stopped mid-note. Diners gasped. Some filmed quietly from behind flickering candles. Elena, fighting to stay calm, spoke clearly. "I want to make a phone call." "That's my right." "Who you calling?" Winslow jeered. "Your sugar daddy?" Drummond chuckled darkly. "Your pimp." "No," Elena said without flinching. "My father." Both men froze. "Who's your father?" Winslow asked, the humor vanishing from his face. "Please." "My phone is in my purse," she said, nodding at her black Chanel clutch. "Just hold it close. I'll use voice command." Winslow, curiosity flickering behind caution, fished the phone from her purse and held it near her. "Call Dad," Elena said, loud and clear. The phone rang. Once. Twice. Then a voice picked up. "Monroe." Both officers knew the name. The voice. James Monroe. United States Attorney for the Eastern District. Revered in courts. Respected in law enforcement. Feared in misconduct circles. "Daddy," Elena said, voice breaking just slightly. "It's me. I was waiting for Lisa at Le Jardin, but I've been detained." A pause on the line. Then, "Detained?" "Yes. Handcuffed by 2 Riverton officers. They say I was disturbing the peace." Silence. "Names," James demanded. "Gary Drummond. Tyler Winslow." Another beat of silence. "Put one of them on the phone." Winslow paled. Drummond looked like he'd swallowed glass. Reluctantly, Winslow handed the phone over. "This is Officer Winslow," he said, weakly. The response thundered from the speaker. "You have 60 seconds to remove those cuffs and release my daughter unharmed. I'm calling Chief Valeni right now. If she is not released immediately, I will make it my personal mission to ensure you both answer in federal court. Do you understand me?" "Yes, sir," Winslow said, already fumbling with the cuff key. Drummond's hands trembled as he helped unlock Elena's wrists. Red, raw lines circled her skin. She stared at both of them. "This wasn't a mistake," she said coolly. "It was racist harassment, and you're going to answer for it." They had no reply. Around the restaurant, murmurs became voices. "Disgusting," someone muttered. "Disgraceful," another agreed. Francois returned, fire in his voice. "You have embarrassed my guests and assaulted my staff. Get out." An elderly man stood up and pointed. "You don't deserve those badges." Their radios crackled. "Officers Drummond and Winslow, report to HQ immediately." With shame trailing behind them, they exited, their every step under 100 judging stares. Elena exhaled slowly. A server offered her a warm towel. "We're so sorry, Ms. Monroe. Your meal is on us." Other diners approached. "You were brave," a woman said. "If you need a witness, we'll testify," a man added. Elena offered a grateful nod but declined food. She called her father again. "They're gone." "I'm okay. Just tired." Minutes later, her friend Lisa arrived, confusion clouding her face. "What happened?" Elena smiled faintly. "Let's talk over coffee." Across the city, officers Drummond and Winslow stood before Chief Eleanor Valeni. She had already seen the footage, both from restaurant cameras and viral cell phone clips. "You detained a federal prosecutor's daughter. On camera. Without cause," she said icily. "You have embarrassed this department. You're suspended, effective immediately." Their badges hit the desk with dull, final thuds. Internal Affairs launched a swift investigation. Witnesses were plentiful. Footage irrefutable. Drummond's personnel file revealed a history of complaints ignored or buried. Winslow's involvement was clear. Within days, both were fired. The department issued a formal apology. Promises of reform followed. Elena Monroe didn't celebrate. She didn't post online or give interviews. Justice wasn't glory, it was necessary. Her wrist healed. Her poise never wavered. And she walked forward, not just taller, but unshakable.